Thanks very much, Sherlock. And I just want to say before we start that I want to be totally dissociated from any of the comments that were previously made here in the chamber, because I think it's an absolute disgrace. And so I just want to make that clear before I go on. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the report of the Consultative Forum on the National Security Policy. It is no secret that... It is no secret...
Deputy
Well, it's obvious you don't fucking listen to what anybody says, because that's not what I said. So listen anymore, open your ears instead of your mouth, and you might fucking understand what people are saying.
Deputy Pringle, I will give you your full time, right? But I'm asking you, Deputy Ray, to please stop. Please. You went over a minute and a half over your time. You went a minute and a half over your time. You're now eating into other people's time. Can you please just stop and allow other people to speak? Go back to Deputy Pringle.
It is no secret that I was very vocally against the forum and its setup. The constitution of the panels on the forum was completely skewed towards those who are opposed to Ireland's current policy of neutrality, or those who seek to weaken it. Those with an expertise on peace building, arms control and humanitarian work were a significant minority on the panels, and so you can understand why I'm very sceptical of the report that came from this forum. We have said time and time again that if the government wanted to start a national conversation, as the Taoiseach mentions in his opening statement, then this should have been done in the form of the Citizens' Assembly. This forum was not a national discussion. It was a discussion between security experts and therefore those who have an interest in advancing military capabilities in Ireland, despite the opinion of the population. The Chair's report itself admitted this, saying it must be borne in mind that the submissions were not a random or representative sample of the population, rather the views of citizens engaged in these issues. Therefore, it would be unwise to extrapolate from these views to the population at large. But yet that's what the Taoiseach does in his opening statement here today. He says that this is a national conversation, and this is what has been taking place here, when it clearly has not. And plus he goes on to contradict himself in his opening statement as well, where he talks about the need for actually to get over the fact that the Security Council hasn't approved any new measures for us to participate in. But that generally goes on to talk about how the Security Council is important. It's an absolute sham what has happened here, and it's an absolute dressing up to get participation in military responses right across the world that we're seeing here. And what's in the Taoiseach's statement is actually just a way of making sure that will happen on behalf of the government, on behalf of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens, who are actually are willing to participate in this. And that is wrong, and that's what's absolutely wrong. And the government will not make sure that they won't give the people a say in relation to this, because the one thing they can be certain of is that the Irish people would actually have a different view than the government would have, and the Irish people would ensure that this would not happen, and that the kind of ongoing militarisation that Fianna Fáil has been pursuing, and Fine Gael and the Greens have been pursuing, will not happen, and will not happen in the future either. I strongly disagree with the Chair's opinion that it would seem that Ireland's policy of neutrality is neither a necessary or a sufficient condition for Ireland's global standing as a force for good in international affairs. There are many organisations who would also disagree with this assessment, including the New Agenda Coalition, of which Ireland is a member, who are committed to nuclear disarmament. Ireland's policy of neutrality has been praised many times by NGOs and even by UN officials. It is seen as a great asset to peace negotiations in the likes of Colombia and to discussions on things like nuclear disarmament. It wasn't just the makeup of the forum that was questionable, but also the content of it. I was disappointed by the lack of focus on biodiversity, especially since the greatest threat to our collective security, which is the climate change and biodiversity crisis. Although cybersecurity is important, it will mean very little when we are faced with the enormous threat of climate change. In her conclusion, the Chair states that it is important to ensure that the future Irish governments have maximum flexibility to respond with deliberation and speed when called upon to ensure the safety and security of our citizens. And our citizens know that they have that, and it is through peaceful commiseration and a neutrality policy that will be pursued.
Thank you very much.